before we dive in, here's the context. In James Gunn's new Superman movie, there was originally a scene where Ultraman, the evil version of Superman, punches Krypto, Superman's loyal, superpowered dog. The moment is meant to be shocking and set the tone, instantly making Ultraman someone the audience hates. But after test screenings, DC decided to delete the scene because it got a strong negative reaction from audiences who didn't want to see Krypto hurt, even though Krypto is a CGI, superpowered character who fights back. Before this, I was cautiously optimistic about the movie, based on what we've all seen in the trailers. But now, just plain cautious, with that optimism gone. So, let me ask you something. What's the movie moment that instantly made you hate a villain? For a lot of us, it's the scene where a bad guy hurts an animal. Let's look at John Wick. The moment those thugs kill his puppy, the entire tone of the movie snaps into place. You don't just dislike the villains, you loathe them. You feel the loss, you feel the injustice, and instantly you're 100% behind John Wick's rampage. It's not just about animal cruelty, it's about establishing real, personal stakes that make the audience emotionally invest in the hero's journey. That one act of violence is so visceral and relatable, it fuels the entire franchise. And it's the same thing with Rocket's friends in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but with an even bigger twist. It was directed by James Gunn, the same director as the new Superman film. Guardians 3 didn't shy away from showing the horror of animal experiments. The high evolutionary cages Rocket and his friends, tortures them with cruel surgical procedures, tags them with numbers instead of names, and treats them as disposable lab subjects. We watch as Rocket, Lila, Teefs, and Floor endure pain, mutilation, and psychological torment, strapped to machines, altered against their will, and finally gunned down in cold blood after dreaming of freedom. These scenes aren't just dark for shock value. They make the villain instantly the hated, and Rocket's pain becomes the emotional core of the entire film. And let's not forget, Guardians 3 came out when Marvel was at an all-time low. Franchise fatigue, bad press, the works. And still, it was a massive hit with both critics and fans. Precisely because Gunn wasn't afraid to go dark and make the audience feel something real. Rocket's pain isn't just background noise. It's what pulls the audience in and makes the entire team's mission matter. Viewers saw Rocket suffer, lose his found family, and barely escape with his own life. That raw, personal pain forged a powerful bond between Rocket and the audience, making people root for his healing and the Guardians' victory on a deeply emotional level. It's the reason so many fans walked out of the theatre with tears in their eyes, feeling not just entertained, but genuinely moved. That pain gave the story teeth and gave the heroes and the audience a powerful reason to care. Now imagine this. In the new Superman movie, there was a scene where Ultraman, the evil, twisted mirror of Superman, a character literally designed to embody everything Superman is not, hurts Krypto, a literal superdog. Ultraman isn't just a generic villain, he's Superman's dark reflection. No compassion, no restraint, no hero's code. When he does something monstrous, it sets the stakes for the entire story. This isn't just about a villain being bad. It's about showing the audience just how despicable Ultraman really is, and why Superman's fight against him matters. But because it got a negative test audience reaction, that scene got cut. And here's where it all falls apart. Instead of letting Ultraman truly terrify and shock the audience with a single defining act of cruelty, The filmmakers chose to play it safe. But safety is the enemy of real stakes. By removing this moment, they didn't just dodge controversy. They stripped Ultraman of his menace and robbed Superman's story of its urgency. When a villain like Ultraman crosses that moral line and hurts Krypto, it instantly tells the audience, this isn't just another bad guy. This is evil, and Superman must deliver justice. It's the kind of scene that cements why the fight matters, why we want to see the hero win, and why the movie's emotional punch lands. You know, the craziest part is, we're not even talking about a real animal here. This is a CGI character, pure visual effects. There's no risk, no actual harm, not even a real dog on set. And not only is Krypto not a defenseless puppy, he's literally a superpowered being. We're talking super strength, flight, laser vision, the works. In the trailers, he's shown actively fighting bad guys, going head to head with villains. He's a superhero in his own right, a full-on combatant, not just a helpless victim on the sidelines. So why is it suddenly crossing a moral line when a CGI, invulnerable, superpowered dog gets hurt? Especially when the same audiences have no problem watching superheroes and supervillains throw each other through buildings, smash cars, and level cities. It honestly gets absurd when you compare it to what else we see in some franchises. Remember Anakin Skywalker. He slaughtered defenseless children in Star Wars, and people still love Darth Vader. Villains in blockbuster movies have killed millions, men, women, and children, with audiences totally fine with it as part of the story. Thanos wiped out half the universe with a snap, including dogs, cats, and every other pet on Earth. And yet fans flocked to see Endgame and celebrated his villainy as iconic. Why? Because that act gave Thanos credibility as a villain. It set the tone for the whole Infinity Saga. Nothing was off limits, and the stakes were as high as possible. His ruthlessness was good for the movie, because it meant every hero's sacrifice, every bit of hope, and every final showdown actually mattered. If you want audiences to take your villains seriously, you have to let them do truly terrible things. That's what makes the story work. So when it comes to Krypto, a CGI, invulnerable, superpowered dog, suddenly this is where we draw the line. If anything, Krypto's powers make the fight fair, and the audience's gut reaction to his on-screen pain just proves how effective the storytelling really is. And really, that line is important, because the job of a villain is to make us hate them. Hurting a heroic dog, especially one with powers, is the fastest way to tell the audience, yeah, this is the bad guy, and that's exactly how it should be. The negative reaction is the point. You're supposed to feel angry, upset, maybe even sickened. If movies stop making us uncomfortable with villainy, what's left? Bland, forgettable bad guys no one really cares about. Some people argue that showing violence against animals, even when it's CGI, glorifies cruelty. But that doesn't hold up. No one's cheering for the villain here. The story punishes them. The whole point is that the hero sees something horrible and steps in to make it right. That's not celebration, that's justice. If anything, these moments give the hero a real, emotional reason to act, and give us, the audience, a powerful reason to root for them. And let's talk about villain motivation. Not every antagonist needs a tragic childhood or a sob story to be relatable. Sometimes the best villains are just flat out evil, the ones you love to hate. Over-explaining or softening every villain only makes stories weaker and the stakes lower. Having someone who's just bad for bad's sake. Sometimes that's exactly what a story needs to get the audience fired up. Here's the real danger of all this. When movies start cutting out anything that might upset a test group, what we're left with is just blandness. There's no more bite, no real risk, nothing that lingers in the mind or stirs up a strong emotion. Think about what made movies like Avengers, Infinity War, The Dark Knight, or even Logan so unforgettable. They had moments that took real chances, moments that actually shocked, disturbed, or challenged the audience. That's why those films stand out. Superhero movies need those moments of real shock, risk, and raw emotion to carve out a place in pop culture. When you play it safe, you get movies that evaporate from memory as soon as the credits roll. Films nobody talks about, memes don't touch, and fans don't revisit. The unique spark, the thing that made superhero stories exciting in the first place, just fades away until every movie feels like the last. And here's the big question. What's actually worse, keeping the scene or removing it? If they'd left it in, the villain would instantly be loathed. Krypto's pain would give Superman, and us, a raw personal reason to want justice. It wouldn't just be some random, overblown CGI punch fest at the end. There would be a real, emotional weight behind every blow Superman throws. That final battle would actually matter. It would feel cathartic, charged with real stakes and genuine emotion, where every punch is payback for what the villain did. Audiences would walk away, remembering not just the spectacle, but the feeling, the surge of relief and satisfaction that comes from seeing justice done, and the emotional roller coaster that made them care in the first place. That's the kind of climax people talk about for years, that gets dissected in YouTube essays, that becomes part of superhero movie legend. But take it out, and what do you have? A villain who's just kind of mean, a story where the stakes never feel personal, and yet another safe superhero flick destined to be forgotten by next year. Look at some of the most forgettable Marvel and DC films in recent years. Stories where the villain's plan is generic, their evil acts are vague, and nothing truly shocks or scars the hero. Compare that to movies like The Lion King, where Scar's betrayal and Mufasa's death is seared into pop culture memory, or even The Dark Knight, where the Joker's ruthlessness drives every plot twist and creates real danger you can feel. In Avengers, Infinity War, Thanos snapping half the universe away instantly became legend because it dared to go there, and audiences felt it. The gut punch moments, where a villain crosses a line, where loss is personal, where the hero's pain is real, are what turn movies into classics. You lose that, and you lose the spark, the moment that makes heroes and villains feel real, the moment that gives audiences something to care about beyond just spectacle. That's the difference between a classic and a film that just disappears in the endless sea of forgettable blockbusters. So let's be real. If the scariest thing your villain can do is snarl off screen, how are we supposed to believe they're a real threat? Let the bad guys do bad things. Let the heroes step up, and let the audience feel the difference. Sanitizing stories for imaginary sensitivities doesn't protect anyone. It just makes our movies less meaningful. And if a CGI superdog taking a hit is too much for modern audiences, maybe the problem isn't the story. Maybe it's how fragile we've let our blockbusters become. But what do you think? Should filmmakers keep these tough moments in, even if it means some people walk out upset? Or is it better to play it safe and make sure nobody feels uncomfortable? Drop your take in the comments below. Do you want your villains to feel truly evil? Or are you fine with movies staying safe and forgettable? Let's debate this, because the future of superhero movies might just depend on how we answer.